All right, hello, and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Today's guest is Andy Ho.
Hey.
Nice. Thanks for being here, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of
Really
course.
appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's I was excited to have you on the show because I know it's been several years since we've been able to reconnect, but we go way back, obviously. First year Mesa, right?
Mesa
Mesa
Court,
Court.
that dance. I will never forget when I stepped into that cipher and then JR comes out of nowhere. And I'm like, who is this guy? Why is he giving me the smoke right now? And I just accepted it. It was memorable.
Yeah, it's all good. We all have starting points, like freshman year was so much fun. I don't know if we so quick, like reminiscing, man. Like I know it's new for both of us, right? And like we're both freestyle dancers, backgrounds, and eventually we get into our whole collegiate dance career with like Irma and Kaba Modern and also this BBA and whatnot. But it was so surreal. We're just going in with like a fresh new lens, like what we're 18 or something like that, and it's then we just go for stuff. We try new things, and then we make these connections. Like 15 years later, it's like
Yeah.
still here and we get to follow each other's journeys and you're doing amazing things as we'll get into. Um, but it's just so crazy how it just starts off with like a fresh new experience.
Yeah. Like I feel that when we first got to UCI, it was, yes, for like the education, for like the college degree and stuff, but like we knew we wanted to dance, like
Yeah.
that was like the thing that everybody wanted to get into. And even though we all came at different points of life in dance,
Yeah.
we all connected through that and like continued to just grow together throughout the years in college. And I'm glad to see that it just continues to manifest itself.
Yeah.
Like as you said, just being connected 15 years later, it's honestly surreal. It's pretty
Yeah.
surreal. Yeah, yeah.
That's crazy. Quick tangent before we get into the actual scheduled programming, but like, I don't know the reasons why you went to UCI or your major and whatnot, but I was telling someone in another interview that I just had that I went to UCI solely for dance,
Mhm.
right? So like I'm from NorCal, and I had a friend who went to UCI, and then I heard of Kaba Modern and all the other dance teams,
Mhm.
and I wanted to dance, so I was like, yeah, I'll go to UCI. I'm gonna be away from home, which I
Mhm.
want, and then I want to dance. It wasn't for school. It wasn't for a major or a degree. I'm just like, well, all my friends are going to UC, so I'll go to UC. Oh,
Yeah.
UCI has this crazy dance community. Well, UCI SoCal OC area,
Mhm.
right, has all these crazy dance teams. So that's why I went, and then eventually joined Kaba Modern. But I don't know, what was your? I mean, you're from OC, right? Like
Yeah.
SoCal? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm from OC. I'm from Garden Grove. Honestly, I never told my mom this, but I did solely go to UCI
there you go.
because of dance, because
What a
of dance
surprise!
university. We grew up around the time of the ABDC era, right? So
Yeah.
I remember being a freshman in high school, first watching season one, and seeing Kaba Modern and thinking to myself like, wow, like that looks so amazing to see people that look just like me being able to be sharing on this platform with dance and such like that. But I wasn't a dancer at the time. And I think it just kind of killed two birds with one stone. I really wanted to go to a UC that was close to home and just be around my mom to be able to take care of her and such like that. I grew up in a single parent home. So I always kind of kept her in my mind as I made decisions along the way. And it just kind of worked out that way.
Nice. Yeah. I think another like as you're talking, another thing that kind of threads it all together is like I don't know what is in the water of like dancers like us or people in the dance community, freestyle dancers, whatever. But I've seen a lot of times that it translates into stuff like outside of that dance.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because of the mentors we've had growing up in like at UCI,
Mhm.
our oldies, super oldies, mentors and stuff like that that just instilled that sort of mindset
Mhm.
that we're able to translate into these other like paths and career fields. But I think that's something that I'm really grateful for
Mhm.
is people who invested into us, guided us, and now we're taking that to like our own career fields like yourself.
No, yeah. Definitely agree with you on that one. Like, I think what's so rare about the dance community in Irvine is it's honestly such a special hub in itself.
Yeah.
It's like one of those experiences, where like you're around it all the time. Sometimes you can be like, wow, am I really dancing with this person? Am I really connected with this person? And honestly, it's crazy when you take a step outside of the community, like you see that, wow, it's so special with all the people that encompass that community that have not only cultivated but like mentored, as you said, just different paths of life, so that we can be able to be our best and most truest versions of ourselves. So it's not just dance; it starts with dance, right? But it cultivates and manifests into whatever aligns with our truest self. So I've always seen it as
Yeah.
that way. Yeah.
Yeah. we'll get into mentors and stuff later on as well. And like I mentioned before we start recording, I'm scheduled to have Arnell, who's dear to both of us.
Shout out.
Shout out to Arnell.
Dr. Arnell Cavario
Yes,
Ripkins.
yes. So if that works out, hopefully we have something scheduled. That'll be a great episode as well. All right, so let me go into how I know you real quick. Just get out of the way. So we met as first years at UCI, as I mentioned, at Mesa. We both danced in BBA, in Irmo, in Kaba Modern separately, a few other project teams, and we were also roommates for a bit in the house in Irvine, which was
Shout out Titan Tower.
yes, Titan Tower. Oh my God, like Titan Tower and I also refer to it as the refugee house at one point because we had how many of us? Like 6, 7 roommates.
Okay, so when it first started, there was 6 of us.
Okay, 6 of
All
us.
right. But somewhere along the way, it turned into like 10 people. And just to give context, it was a 2-story house.
Yeah.
We each had our own room besides me. I shared it with my best friend, who I'm still connected to this day. Shout out Mikey Tran. We had a second living room.
Yes.
And it came with a double-decker couch. So as it sounds, okay, it was a couch built on top of a couch. And I remember it was so sketchy the landlords on the first day of like move-in, they like printed a picture of it, and then they were like, "Hey, can you sign this just to make sure we know you're okay with like inheriting this couch?" And us being young and post college,
why not? Yeah,
why not? Yeah, let's do it. So yeah, and then eventually that second living room just housed like 3 to 4 more of our friends.
So great. It was straight out of 2 things come to mind. It was like in one of the Lego movies, there was like a double-decker couch. I don't remember which one, but I'm like, that looks like our couch. And then also in, I think, Step Brothers or something like that.
Yeah.
Was that a double-decker couch or was it like a bunk bed?
It was like a bunk bed.
Okay, bunk bed. But then it like collapses on him, and that also reminds me of our couch.
We did make sure it was sturdy.
Right.
Like, we tested it. We like tried to fit as many people as we could on the second couch, and we were like jumping on it and stuff.
And he was thoroughly testing it for research purposes.
Safety purposes as well.
Oh my God. So yeah, it was us like 6. And then our significant others would obviously be there a lot of times.
That's right.
And then the rest of our dance team, and we'd have parties like every so often. At one point during the summer, it was like every weekend.
Yeah,
That
so
was crazy.
probably my most favorite memory of that time, so shout out Nick Bassapor. He was one of our really good friends. He's actually still really connected with me to this day. I'm actually the godfather of his kids, so shout out my godsons.
Nice.
Yeah, he missed one party. I remember, I think it was like our annual 4th of July thing.
Yeah.
We were like that type of house that had like an open door policy. We wanted people to feel at home and, give people a place to like celebrate and be with friends and family and such like that. And Nick went home for one weekend, and he came back and he heard how amazing that 4th of July party was, to the point where he started to
that's
plan
why. That's right.
a party every single week. But not only that, I think he got really into writing a story.
Oh, that's right.
So
that's
Nick will make like a
He sent out
Facebook event page.
he sent out a whole like thing about it, right? Like a description, a story.
Yeah, and he'll pick like the most random things to celebrate. Like there was one week where I think we picked up an old bench press. And so the celebration was for us to get swole. And then another week was 2 of our like summer housemates got a job at Starbucks. So we were celebrating that they started their first job at Starbucks. And so he had this interesting way of just kind of including all of us in like this grand story he would type. So people would sometimes even click attending just to read the story. Just to see where it goes. Yeah, it was awesome.
That was so funny. And to that point too, the 4th of July party was amazing. It was pretty fun.
Yes.
I remember it being like all day. We had barbecued in the park.
Yes.
And it was so lit, and then we went out to like late at night. Yeah, that was super fun. So I can see why we had like subsequent a series of parties after that.
It was definitely wholesome activities for sure. And again, it was like just a hub for a lot of our family and friends to like just get together, those who couldn't go home for the weekend and stuff. I'm glad that we were able to be that for other people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. All right, so going back to it. So the Titan Tower, aka Refugee House, college. So since college, you've been getting into like fitness, powerlifting, running. You dance with Culture Shock LA, and now along with your career journey through occupational therapy. Anything else you've been up to other than those things you want to add to it?
Probably the most important thing. I'm now an engaged man.
Yes, congratulations.
Shout out my lovely fiance, Melinda Chewin. love her to death. She's like my rock, my number one fan, my greatest supporter. And so I could not do all those things without her belief and faith in me. So,
Nice. We love that. We love that. Do you guys have like a time date set already?
not yet. We just got engaged this past June in Japan, in Kyoto.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was
It looked awesome.
our favorite city in Japan. But we haven't planned anything yet. I think we're just also tying up a couple loose ends
Gotcha.
before we begin all that. So
Yeah. Awesome. We'll get into some of those things too. All right. So we'll look into our first topic. So, origin story, main influences, and getting into OT. Basically, I wanted to know like if you wanted to connect the dots looking backwards, right? So, like, you went to UCI for, well, to dance, but then obviously I know you probably had some career aspirations as well. So, looking back to where you are now and then, to that first year in college, can you connect the dots of what led you to OT and maybe main influences?
Oh man, all right. I'm gonna try to condense the story because it's just so many chapters behind it.
Right.
But essentially, when I first came to UCI, I knew I wanted to do something in healthcare, but I was like that type of person where I just go with the flow.
Yeah.
Actually, it was my very first girlfriend in high school. She was kind of just giving me ideas and was like, "Why don't you go down the pre-dentistry route?" And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I was pre-dent for I want to say maybe like 2 or 3 years of my college career, and then realized that wasn't for me. And then our mutual BBA friend, he actually challenged me in regards to that pre-dent route. We were driving to like a Def Jam poetry thing one night, and he was like, "Yeah, your pre-dent stuff is like a load of baloney. I don't think that's what you're passionate about."
Really?
I think that was the first time I was challenged as to like, you know, is this what I want to do, or is it because someone else was giving me implanting that seed of an idea, right?
Mm.
And so, because I was dancing so much, he was like, "Hey, I think you'd be a great physical therapist." So after that, I just kind of transitioned all gears to going down this pre-PT route. Graduated, continued just developing myself as a future PT, and I essentially applied to school twice. So for those of you who don't know, when you apply to graduate school, there's like these cycles that happen every year. My first cycle, I applied to 8 schools, didn't get into any. And then my second year, I applied to 12 schools. I didn't get into any. So I was rejected from 20 schools.
Nice.
So
Is that a PR or
that was definitely a PR. I remember getting my last rejection and feeling so defeated, doubting myself. Am I meant for grad school? Was this really what I wanted to do? And that question came up again, was I just put on this path because someone told me I'd be good at it? But was it something that I truly had a passion for? Right. And I thought, dance, being physical together, right?
Right.
But, maybe it wasn't for me. And during that time, it was my return a year on Kaba Modern. So
Really quick, what was the time frame? So you graduated. What were the times between that first round and the second round, and then?
So graduated, and then the first round I want to say was in 2015 or 16.
So a couple years after you graduated.
Yeah, about
2 years after.
2 years after,
Yeah.
I would say. And then I immediately applied right after that for my second cycle.
Oh, I
So,
see.
during that time I was still dancing. I would say I have a very unorthodox dance journey as well. I continued dancing a lot after college, and I want to say even more so than I did during college.
Yeah.
Right. And I was very, very fortunate to pursue that dream and make Kaba Modern. And I could literally sit here and say that Kaba Modern led me to becoming an occupational therapist. And it just manifested so organically because around that time, it's my return year, it was my second year on the team. And I was somewhat connected with Arnell. We just kind of shared a couple messages with one another. And for those of you who don't know, Arnell Calvario is the founder of Kaba Modern. So he always did an amazing job connecting with the newbies. And so that's how we were connected. And, one day I was just like, let's just grab lunch. And then we had lunch together, and he kind of just asked me about my story, shared about his story. And then that's when he said, "Hey, I think you're meant to be an occupational therapist, just by the way your mind works, how artistic you are. If you're willing to, I would love to mentor you." And I just kind of took that leap of faith, like I didn't have anything to lose. And just kind of went under his wing, and yeah, everything kind of fell into place because when people think of occupational therapy, right, it's one of the three rehab like therapeutic sciences, right? You have physical therapy, you have speech therapy, and then you have occupational therapy. And occupational therapy has so many different definitions because it's so broad. But essentially, what we do is we help an individual get back to a meaningful occupation through rehab, right? So that could be anything, you know. There's so many different settings of OT. And through this journey of being mentored by Arnell, my own definition of occupational therapy became um, helping somebody realize their highest potential in what they love to do,
Mm.
right? And so through that mentorship with Arnell, I started to realize, this is aligning with my values. This is aligning with my perspectives. And that same year, I applied to school and I somehow made it in, and I made it into Loma Linda University. And that year too was, I look back on it and I would say that was like my come up year. Like that was a year where I felt like I not only developed myself mentally, physically, but emotionally as well. And so by the time I got to OT school, I was completely ready for it. And so, did OT school for 2 years, got my master's, graduated in June 2022. And then actually, I would say by the time this podcast comes out, I will have officially received my doctorate in
Ooh,
occupational therapy.
nice.
So,
Congrats.
thank you. Yeah, I went back into school part time, still working full time as an occupational therapist, but wanted to, push the boundaries of my growth as a clinician and continue forward in that. So, yeah.
Nice. Cool. So a few questions that come to mind is what do you think was well, aside from you thinking or getting the guidance from Arnell, of like, I think what you're meant to do is occupational therapy. So I'm sure that was invaluable. But for you, what do you think were like the key defining factors, maybe characteristics, if I'm thinking of this the right way,
Mm,
of, getting rejected from PT school twice
yeah,
or, multiple times in those 2 rounds,
mhm.
and then it all of a sudden clicking for OT? Like, was it some, what was it about like maybe your journey? Maybe were you like not ready for like that sort of schooling yet? Or obviously the career fields are different.
Mhm.
So maybe something clicked more with you for that? Or could you walk us through your thoughts?
I think when I reflect on it, it was one of those things where um, I just kind of let the universe take over.
Okay.
There's always that saying of like us pushing against the tide, right? And I've always been like that growing up. In a single parent home, having a lot of responsibilities as the only son. I've always kind of thought to myself like I have to prove myself. I have to go against the tide, right? And I think that journey of transitioning into OT, just made me realize to finally accept the flow, right? But also accept myself, right? Like I think it was like using a puzzle piece and trying to jam it into a board that it doesn't fit in,
Right. The wrong place, right?
Yeah, it's the wrong place. Not that I wasn't meant to be a PT, right? But maybe it wasn't the best option for me. And I think I was so tunnel visioned into that career path that I wasn't accepting of anything else that came around me. And then finally, when OT came along and I dived into, what it meant to be an occupational therapist, what it meant to serve people through OT, um, it just resonated with me. It felt like that puzzle piece I finally was flush and just
Mhm.
stuck in. And by the time I went to school and started to learn all the concepts and the ideals and morals behind the profession, that's when I had that aha moment in class and was like, this is why I'm here.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Were there any sort of I imagine, there's years of separation between when you first applied to
Yeah.
PT school and then eventually getting into OT school and then your master's and then your doctorate.
Mhm.
Were there any sort of things, characteristics, habits that like you believe or mindsets that set you up to do well in those fields afterwards, like getting your master's and your doctorate?
Mm. It kind of relates to just accepting myself, right? I think, that saying is like when you hit rock bottom, the only direction is to go up,
Mm,
right? And you know, when we lived together, that was when I first started that PT journey. And I just knew that it was already going to be an uphill battle because I kind of shifted my journey last minute before I graduated. Right. And so I just knew that I had to believe in myself, But the thing is, I didn't. It was like one of those things where like I'm telling myself that I believe in myself,
Right.
but I didn't believe it
You
completely.
didn't actually believe it like completely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that was the biggest journey that I had. Just kind of those years from PT school, applying to PT school, going to OT school, right? Like learning to accept myself, learning to love myself, to be forgiving of myself, and to give myself grace for just going on my own timeline. I think I was seeing so many uh, friends just get into school, specifically PT school, that I felt, you know, almost behind. And then, at the time, still dancing, right? And again, it was very unorthodox seeing someone post college continuing to dance, but not only continuing to dance, but continuing to go competitive, right? Um, so I was immersed in dance. And I think that also just taught me to, again, accept, this is the way my mind works. This is the way my soul resonates. And I just have to continue to cultivate that. And if I couldn't believe in myself, then I had to believe in those who believed in me, right? I've always told people that I'm never self made. I'm not self made. Like, I am the product of so many people that have supported me and believed in me. It takes a village to just create who I was. And for that, like, I'm so grateful. And so just being able to believe in them who believed in me eventually led me to this route of, hey, it feels easier today. It feels easier that I can look in the mirror and accept who is looking back, right?
I like it. So then my question was, and maybe you answered it, was like, how did you move from, okay, I'm saying this, but I don't really believe it. I like half-heartedly believe it.
Mhm.
But maybe, like you said, part of it was like continuously giving yourself grace and kind of like, building that muscle of believing in yourself, but also being fortunate enough to be surrounded by people who believe in you, and then slowly over time, accepting that and seeing it as true. Do you feel like that's just the process? It just takes a while to like intentionally get to that point.
I think that's part of the process, but also you have to seize it, right? There's this quote that forever will resonate in me. I remember being a seventh grader in Taekwondo class, out of all classes, it being shared with me, and it was a quote by Charles Swindoll. Um, I'm convinced that life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it.
Mm,
Um, we are all in charge of our own attitudes. And so I felt that, yes, I was learning to believe in myself and also believing in the people around me and what they saw in me. But I also knew that I had to take my own action,
mm,
right? I think the one quality that I'm so proud of that I manifested, I want to say, through those years going into OT school was developing discipline.
mm.
Um, Discipline creates habits, right? Habits create your values, what you believe in. And it could be anything, from just trying to get myself to the gym every day, right? To giving my all in a dance class, right? And those little building blocks continue to uh, be the foundation of who I knew I could be, even though I couldn't see it just yet.
I like that a lot. It's kind of like you can have those beliefs, but I think putting the action behind like what you say you
Mhm,
want to do, and then those actions develop the consistency, the habits,
mhm,
the reality, the results that you get, and that truly builds your confidence because you can look back and be like, okay, maybe I don't believe myself, but I look back and I've actually accomplished a lot through my discipline, through my
yeah,
habits.
yeah,
So I think that's a good point. Is the actions and then the resume you build up of what you do is really what's important. So again, doing things
yeah.
right, like what you said, like, and you've done a lot of things that we'll get into as well, and we got into some of that. Also another thing that you mentioned that was that quote was amazing. I'll link to it or I'll quote it. But also, have you read the book "Man's Search for Meaning" by Viktor Frankl?
I have not, but I've heard
Have
of
you heard
it.
of it? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So in the one of the podcasts I listened to, most of the guests reference that book, and it is exactly the whole like life is how you respond to it sort of thing. So
Mhm,
Viktor Frankl is like a Holocaust survivor. He was in like one of the concentration camps, and he's like a psychotherapist or something like that. And one of his big things is like life is what happens in between like the stimulus and how you respond to it,
yeah,
right? And as someone in such a dire situation of like being in a concentration camp, obviously your world is outside of your control. However, the thing between your ears, your mind, and how you see things is in your control because they
mhm,
can't take that away.
mhm,
And that's how people like him survive through that. And that's when he goes through his clients and like does psychotherapy for them.
mhm,
It kind of rephrases that, and he's like a whole school of thought in therapy about that. So I really like that. It's that idea of, yeah, you can, being the victim will only go so far. And we also understand that there are systems in place in our society that, are out of your control. But what's in your control is always how you see things.
Yes, yes. Definitely hit a lot of points that resonated with me, even now. So, right, like when I got my last rejection from PT school, I remember how exhausted I felt. Like I felt like, am I not meant for this? Should I just give up on it and try something else? But I knew that I could only take a small amount of time to just be in my feelings, to process what I needed to feel until I had to take the next step, right? Life continues to move on. And, am I going to continue to feel left behind? But essentially, everyone's on their own pace,
Yeah,
and I think I had to realize at that moment that, I'm not behind. I'm just on my
of
pace,
course.
right? Yeah.
I love that. Last question on your career path in OT schools. For people who are interested in occupational therapy and maybe want to go to school for that or become an occupational therapist like you, do you have any advice or insights or tips as someone maybe like, let's say, going through college and want to pursue the same career path as you? Any tips that you would give them or advice?
Yes. So the first thing I would say is definitely find mentorship. I think my trajectory changing to OT significantly changed when I found mentorship, right? Whenever I thought of my mentors leading up to that point, it was Arnell, it was Jason Bueno, shout out Jason Bueno. Um, it was Jay Kalanog, remember Jay
Mm,
Kalanog? Shout out Jay Kalanog. These are all people who were amazing individuals or are amazing individuals and examples, but also people who continue to support me, right? And so, just by receiving different perspective on people who had a different outlook on life, I think it really kept me in a humble and hungry place, right? And the second thing I would say is definitely immerse yourself in the experience. So by that I mean, either volunteer, either see how an occupational therapist works, because there's so many different settings. It's just like physical therapy or even speech therapy. There's so many different settings you can take that career path into, and so not only deciding on what you want to do, but also what does that look like for you, right? And so the only way you can experience that is by just being hands-on immersive.
mm.
And so um, definitely, I would say the combination of those two can definitely lead anyone to their dream of going to grad school, whether it's in OT or anything else, right?
Love it. All right. Now, segue, I think, into from going OT school and your career journey is I wanted to touch upon finding balance. So I know that you have a lot of different interests and you do all these things with a full heart, very passionately, and you enjoy that stuff. And I think that's inspiring for myself and other people. But like again, you were saying post college, you're doing competitive dancing, which is very hard. And then getting into powerlifting, still dancing, and then you mentioned also running.
Mhm.
And I'm sure, other things that having a relationship and, eventually getting engaged. So how do you, well, I'll open up to how you want to tackle it, but how do you feel like you can find balance or how have you found balance in pursuing these different interests and how they come into your life and deciding between choosing one or the other, doing all of them. And then how do you do it well enough so that it's not just draining you?
Mm. I would definitely say that it's still a work in progress. It's never perfect. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there first. I'm still figuring it out as I go. But I want to say where that all started was, really deeply rooted from, I want to say, like my childhood, right? Like, again, growing up in a single parent home, being the only male of the household, I had a lot of responsibilities. I had that feeling of all the time to prove myself, right? And that daunted me for the longest time. And I felt like I could have taken that in a more negative light. I could have rejected that responsibility or reject that ownership of, I don't need to take all these things on my plate. But I think just watching my mom balance everything that she did in order to provide for me made me see that, I can do that too, you know. And so yeah, going through college and then graduating college, finding so many interests, I think it just really manifested through just where I come from. And, you know, having people who really support you definitely helps as well, right? And that just kept this purity inside of me where I was like, I'm going to bring the best that I have to everything that I do. And so, um, with dance, obviously, it was such a huge part of my life post college. I felt like even though things weren't going the best or weren't going well in terms of like my grad school path or like my career, I was still figuring it out. The one consistent thing I had was things that I loved, right? So one was dance, and I just kept pouring everything I had into it. Um, Continuing to dance on. I remember when I graduated, I joined uh, now known as Urban Modus at the time,
Mhm.
and that kind of just opening up a whole new doorway from freestyle dance because going through college just mostly did b-boying, right, with BBA. And then eventually that team helping me develop connections that were meaningful and intentional, you know helped me continue to believe in myself. And even if things again weren't going well outside of dance, I just knew the one thing I had was dance. And so continuing to pour into it, right? Going for Kaba Modern, my dream team, ever since ABDC, right? And to be able to finally share that experience with them, I think it continued to show me that, like as long as I pour myself into things that I loved, it would bring out the truest version of myself,
Mm.
you know? And then even now, so, going through OT school and being an occupational therapist now, um, taking those lessons that I learned back then of discipline, of believing in yourself, I think applying it to anything that I've always wanted to do just felt really natural, right? So like powerlifting, for example. I love powerlifting. Like I know it looks sometimes boring to people where it's just like, you're just squatting, benching, deadlifting, right? But for me, it was like a test of myself, right? It's like setting the bar higher and higher every single time you hit a PR. Great. What's next? And I felt like it was the perfect sport that fed my soul. And so, continuing to just pour myself into different avenues that I felt were contributing to the truest version of myself, helped me want to even balance it even more. Right. And, you know, where I'm at right now, I feel really grateful to say that I'm busy, right? Because it's not every day we have those opportunities to do what we love and to be able to pour our time and energy into it. So
I love that. That was gold. That's all answered the entire question. Some of the takeaways, just to reiterate, I guess for the audience, if it's necessary, it's probably not. But doing the things that you love because that brings out the truest version of yourself. And I think the spirit of the question is more of like people who say, I come across people who are like, oh well, I graduated now, I have to work and I can't dance anymore, or I can't do A, B, and C, the things that I enjoy. And I'm always an advocate of, well, if it charges you up, if it brings out the truest version of yourself, like you said, why would you stop doing it?
yeah,
Because it allows you to do those things more fully and builds your self awareness, like orients your compass where you should be going. So why would you ever stop that? And then you end up being busy, but in a good way, because you're not being busy with things that are stressing you out or overwhelming you. You're being busy with things that like bring color to your life that
yeah,
you want to do.
yeah,
So I think I want to stress that point for the audience as well. It's like you can do multiple things and love doing them, but you have to be able to find those things and then just try new things, like you said.
yeah, yeah. And I almost feel like it keeps this purity inside of you, right? Like, no matter what life throws your way, um, you still have this essence of what brings you wholesomeness, what brings you joy, what brings you happiness, right? And continuing to pursue what you love to do, um, and that could be different from what you do professionally, right? Sometimes we also have to accept that what we do professionally isn't what brings us joy or what
Mm,
brings us passion, but it's to be able to make time to pursue those passions.
mm.
Yeah,
I like it. Making time, prioritizing, right?
yeah, yeah.
I guess my last question on that is, so how does one find what they're passionate about? How does one like lock into those things and balance it with like a full-time career or going to like grad school or something like that?
Mm. I think honestly, just first and foremost, just follow that dream, like follow what you love to do and picture yourself where you can be with it, like if I were to like speed run through the things that I love to do right now, right? Like with dance, like I've always wanted to dance with Kaba Modern, or I've always wanted to dance with Culture Shock LA. And to be able to, finally be there, it just made me want to dance even more, made me want to work towards that more. For powerlifting, right? Like I've always envisioned myself, competing on a national stage, being on the platform, and to be able to hit PRs when it mattered, now being able to say that I can make that a reality, that just makes me even hungrier to pursue that, and even for OT, like how do I want to be of service to others, like what is my purpose with being an occupational therapist, and to be able to connect it with my love for dance, and to share that with others and to heal others, that just brings me even more joy and passion to continue to cultivate it for others.
I like that. I think one thing too that stood out for me is like I feel like as we're a kid and as we grow up, there are those childhood dreams, there are those desires within us that we either listen to
Mhm.
or we kind of silence it or kind of put it in the closet, so to speak. And then we pursue our career, we go to
Yeah.
school and all this other stuff. But then it's kind of like the book The Alchemist. Have you read it?
Oh no, not
The
yet,
Alchemist,
but
yeah.
it's on my list.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
one of those famous books that, people say like you hear about it a lot.
yeah.
And I recommend it. I can have a book summary. You can check it out. I always plug my book summary website. But the core of it is really just like there's always this dream, this goal, this sort of like vision in the back of your head that it's like a voice whispering to you. And if you ignore that voice, eventually it's gonna go away.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna regret life. But the whole adventure of this main character is to pursue that voice calling out to him of what his real dream is and finding that sort of quote unquote treasure. And I think it's like I believe that we all have that sort of calling within us, but what are we doing to like open our ears up to listen to that
Yeah.
that sort of inner voice that's whispering to us of what we should be doing?
Yeah, yeah. And then with that too, you just never know where that voice and that dream's gonna take you, right?
Mhm.
Like whenever people ask me, like did you ever feel like you were behind going to grad school a little bit later? Or did you ever feel like you were too old when you were dancing on Kaba Modern? And I always tell people that, if it didn't happen the way it did,
Yeah.
I would have not been where I'm at right
Right.
now. Like I would have not met Arnell. I would have not met Melinda if I went to grad school early. Um, and I wouldn't be who I am. And so sometimes it's just accepting the natural flow of what the universe has in store for you. Um, it can honestly just show you the most beautiful version of yourself. Yeah.
I love it. Thank you for that. Now, so a little quick thing. I know one of the other topics I wanted to talk about or
Mhm.
touch on, if we have time, is you mentioned specifically perseverance, work ethic, and the acronym GRIND, GRIND.
Mhm.
Did you want to clarify any of those sort of topics or statements?
Perseverance. I mean, we kind of
Yeah.
dove into it a little bit with my OT school journey. Um, but I guess I'll briefly share. So, like growing up in a single parent home, you know, my mom and I used to always get different remarks of, oh, Andrew's not going to be successful because he doesn't have a dad, or he won't know any better because he doesn't have a dad teaching him. And so again, that was kind of engraved into me that I had to be something to represent my family, right? Represent uh, the two strong women that raised me, which was my mom and my grandma. And then, going to college, applying to PT school, I'll never forget this, but like I remember applying to physical therapy school, and I had a friend who was applying around that time as well. Um, and we kind of fell out of friendship just from different morals and values. But I remember when this person got into school, but I didn't, and I shared. Um, they said, "You shouldn't be dancing because it's such a waste of time, and that's why you didn't get into school."
Oh my God.
And for a brief moment, I almost believed this person, But again, what was natural for me and what was natural in my heart was to follow what I love to do. And again, as I said earlier, I can say that dance got me to OT school, It led me to who I'm supposed to be. So persevering, doesn't matter what anybody else says. It's your journey, it's your own pace. And you are in charge of your own fate. Yeah. Work ethic wise, I think the one quality, if I ever have to say that I'm so proud of myself, is my discipline. Um, Like I thrive off of waking up at 3:30 in the morning.
You are crazy.
I
in a good,
just
in a very respectful, I admire you way.
so okay. Briefly, this started actually in grad school because my second year of grad school, I was offered a TA position, and it was around the pandemic, so I was still commuting to Loma Linda. Uh, After I moved back to Irvine to kind of be sheltered in place and such. And then I was driving to my powerlifting gym in Garden Grove right after TAing all day from 8 to 5. So I wouldn't get home until like 9 or 10, right? And I thought to myself, there has to be a more efficient way to do this. And so I was like, let's just try working out in the morning, see what happens. So I started at 5 a.m. It was hard, really hard in the beginning. But then slowly, again, just kind of surrounding myself with a great community. There was like a morning crew that we had. I found myself wanting to immerse myself with these people earlier and earlier. So then I'll come at 4 a.m.
Oh my god.
Then I'll come at 3 a.m. There was one time I came at 2, which was insane, but you have to get it done, right?
Sir,
So
when do you sleep?
now I sleep actually at a nice 8:30,
I
45,
see.
which is because sleep is important, everybody. Sleep
Yeah.
is important. But yeah, I felt like just that act alone of just waking up, driving to the gym, getting my training done, and then going to do whatever I need to do, whether that's work or school right after that. It just made me feel like I could do anything, you know. Um, so yeah, definitely whatever work ethic manifests and looks like for you, definitely just go with it. It doesn't have to be, waking up early like I am, Sometimes people are night owls, they work well into the night way more efficiently, but find something that works for you that is consistent and sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to stress sustainable.
Sustainable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and then grind. Oh man. Okay, so uh, for those of you who don't know, in the hip hop dance community, when you're a freestyler, you get named by your crew. You get a dancer name, right? And so back in college, I had this little crew that came off from BBA called T Crew. And shout out my crewmate, Kenanaya Melagrito. He was the one that named me.
Didn't
Um,
Ken name a lot of people?
he named a lot of people.
did.
Yeah, we had this phase, I want to say like 2011, 2012. Everyone was like, give me a name,
Just give me a name.
But then the thing is, you're not allowed to name yourself.
Right.
People have to name you. And so I was helping Ken go through, he was kind of going through it. And I kind of shared with him this song that got me through so many hard times. And it was a song called Grind by Asher Roth. And grind stands for get ready, it's a new day. And in the song, at the very end, there's a little epilogue that says, happiness isn't about getting what you want all the time. It's about loving what you have. So get ready, it's a new day. And I share that with Ken just to, let him know, hey, every day is a new day to reestablish yourself, to try something new, to connect with someone new. And then he just looks at me and goes, that's your name. And I was like, no, it's not. like I refuse to accept it. But little did I know that name, that saying has carried me through so much throughout my life. And it's something that I firmly believe in. Every day is a new day for you to try something new, for you to connect with someone, to be be intentional, be compassionate, show empathy, right? And it just still defines me to this very day. So I'm very happy that it's, you could say, my alter ego, right? But it's who I am as well.
Nice. I like that a lot. All right. Anything else on that sort of topic? Perseverance, work ethic, grind. Any takeaways that you'd like to have the audience have in that field? I mean, the last 10 minutes were gold, honestly, but any last thoughts or ideas there on giving advice to people who maybe want to take away from your story?
Um, I will say that everything starts with um, how you see yourself, right? How you accept yourself, how you believe in yourself. And if you can't do that just yet, then believe in the people that believe in you. I truly think that it takes a village to cultivate and um, help someone grow to who they're meant to be, right? And that's how we keep the cycle going. We continue to create opportunities for people um, who are like-minded or who want to resonate with what we believe in, right? And in turn, they will also pass that on. There's a saying in hip hop, each one teach one, right?
Mm,
So, you know, it's your responsibility to pay it forward, to give opportunity, and to see it manifest in the younger generation. And so in turn, they will be inspired to do the same. And that's how we keep the cycle of positivity
nice. So last question for you: when is your TED Talk?
going.
I feel like you have a good how long are TED Talks? 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that.
I actually never thought about doing one, but actually maybe that might be
Dude,
a goal.
manifest it. I'm
Yeah,
manifesting it for you.
the
Speaking out loud.
seed, the seed has been planted,
Yes, there you go.
and it will manifest.
Nice. Cool. Are you ready for rapid fire
Let's
questions?
do it.
Nice. All right. First one, billboard question. If you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, what would it say?
All right. I'm a huge anime fan.
Yeah.
I'm a huge anime nerd. There's an anime called Gurren Lagann. Have you heard of it?
Oh yeah. The big mech one, right? I
Yes,
think it's universal
the
size.
very over the top mech
Yes.
anime. Okay, if you're listening to this right now, you have to watch Gurren Lagann because it will teach you so much about yourself. And there's a quote from that show that I'll never forget. And again, I've been kind of saying it throughout this entire podcast. The story is about a little brother and a big brother. The little brother's the main character. He's really shy, anxious, kind of an introvert. And then the older brother is very charismatic, extroverted. He could command a room and inspire people. And he tells his little brother, believe in the me who believes in you.
That's where that's from.
Yeah.
Dang.
And then eventually, he tells his little brother when he's ready, believe in the you who believes in yourself. So I would say my billboard is like a two-parter. So like on one side, it'd be, believe in the me who believes in you.
Yeah.
But then you'll look back at it and it'll be believe in the you who believes in yourself.
Nice. I like it. That's the Tengen Toppa Guren Lagan.
Yes,
Right?
sir.
Yeah, that's just
Yes,
crazy.
sir.
Yeah, that's the throwback, man. Gotta watch
You
that.
have to watch it if you have not watched it.
I'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
All right, so next one is what is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life and what did you learn from it? Maybe we've covered it or maybe we didn't.
I would say, to make a long story short, forgiving my dad. Um, so my dad, I want to say, left my household around when I was in sixth grade. And so for the longest time, I had to, again, just kind of be the man of the house to look after my mom, my twin sister. And I just never thought that I would see my dad again. And growing up, I had all this anger, thinking about like what I would say to him or how I would never want to see him until I was completely grounded and also developed, right? Professionally, holistically, as a human being. And there was one day I had this opportunity where I was inviting to my cousin's wedding. And it was right at the very end of OT school, right when I graduated. So I couldn't help but feel like it was the universe telling me that for me to move into the next chapter of my life, I had to accept this part of myself and also forgive not only my dad but myself for carrying this burden. And yeah, so I met him for the first time in about 18 years, and I remember that feeling. I thought to myself, am I going to be angry? Am I going to say all these things, at a wedding, right? But little did I know, I looked at him and all I can feel was nothing. Like I just felt like I finally let it go, and I was able to just, be who I was meant to be for myself and for the people that I loved.
Nice. Nice. I love that. All right. Self-inflicted wound. Do you have a story about something that's gone wrong in your life that's your own fault and you can't blame anyone else because you did it to yourself?
Honestly, I definitely think it was just, I don't know, the PT school journey comes to mind, right? But also I think it's because I just kind of ran with it and believed in what someone told me to do. Like people thought that it was what I was meant to do, and I just believed it so easily. I didn't question it. I didn't do my own research. I didn't even look within. And so I think for the longest time that kind of led me down so many different dead ends, right? But again, it's kind of weird. It's like I don't regret it at the same
Of
time,
course.
because it just led me to where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
So,
So lesson learned, but you don't regret it.
mhm.
On that topic, if you could redo one thing, what would you do differently? And I know maybe a lot of my guests are like, I don't regret anything, and that's fine. But like as a thought experiment, if you could redo one thing, what would you redo?
Hmm. Honestly, it would probably have pursued competitive dancing sooner.
Oh,
And not just in the choreography scene, but even the freestyle scene. I think just pursuing dance at an earlier age might have made me more adept in college, and I would have battled more. I would have gone to more jams, even though we went to a lot of jams. Or taking the leap of faith and audition for Kaba Modern sooner, right? But I was always just so amazed by everybody in that space
yeah.
that I never thought that it could happen to me too. And so, yeah. But if I were to do it again earlier, I think that would be crazy. Maybe we would have been on the team
Yeah, at the
together.
same time, yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
would have been a trip, being in the same class.
yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah.
that would been so crazy. Yeah, because I would always hear all the amazing stories from JR, and I never really like thought to myself, oh yeah, I can see
Yeah, I
myself
could do
doing
that.
that.
Yeah.
Like then 3 years later,
Yeah, yeah.
so
I'm so glad that you made it on because I feel like it's for friends, it's like, you're doing something and then you other friends and you tell them about it. And then when they have that same experience, you're like, wait, I can, that makes sense. Like I totally, I have saw you on Kaba Modern and I was like, yeah, that's such a good fit for you. And then now you're in Culture Shock and I feel like that's such a good fit as well. If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now? Any age, any time period.
honestly, probably just continue believing in yourself. Yeah, I just remember being the most believe it or not, I was very introverted, very anxious, didn't believe in myself, and I would just tell my younger self to just keep believing. Just as simple as that. Believing is so easy to do on one context, but on the other hand, it's easier said than done, right? It takes days, months, years to just kind of even believe in yourself even a little bit more. And if I were to have believed in myself even earlier, I can't imagine what the potential would have been,
Yeah.
So younger self, it gets better.
Yeah, yeah. Younger selves or any other younger versions of Andy out there who are listening to this, believe in yourself. One thing that comes to mind now that you mentioned that, now I'm reflecting on first, second year Andy, when we were friends. And like, I do remember, you've always been a great guy, but I do remember specifically that you had this sort of like, um, what's it called? Like insecurity, like you were going through like a breakup or we talked about relationship stuffs a lot.
Mm.
And it hit you really hard when you were going through certain breakups or something like that. Um and then now I'm just comparing, that slice in time to now where you are like this force of nature who you're so like disciplined. You dance competitively at such a high level. You're really big into fitness and your own like physical health. And now you're like have your doctorate and stuff like that. And you're going through all these other things, and so to see your growth from then to now is like insane. And I think it's a testament to, again, like your work ethic, your discipline. And for me, that's inspiring because it gives a lot of people hope that they can be in such like a dark place, like you probably were back then, similarly, like not knowing where to go and not feeling sure of yourself. But then like give yourself time, give yourself grace and patience, and you can like have crazy results just like Andy. You just gotta be patient and believe in yourself and finding mentors and people who believe in you, right?
Yeah, yeah, man, yeah. It's I don't know, like first and second year Andy, definitely. Again, like just coming from high school, still carrying a lot of childhood
Of
trauma,
course, yeah.
still carrying that feeling of I have to prove myself. um that's why whenever we connected, I think, yeah, when Jared and I first connected, it was mostly on like relationship stuff. I felt inadequate, I felt like I wasn't good enough for my partners at the time and such like that. But I think it just revealed to me that I just didn't accept myself yet. And the moment I started to accept myself a little bit more, I think that's where my real friends showed, my real supporters came out, my real passion started aligning with me. It again led me to the truest version of myself. And that's an ongoing process. Even now, it's still an ongoing process. So
Yeah, I love it. And like you don't need to hear this from me, but like I'm so proud of you, dude. Because now that like just looking back on that, it's like it was like there's a seed inside of you, and then now you're just like this oak tree of like people can learn a lot from you and your journey and your wisdom. And then if they saw the Andy that I saw when we first met, and you'd be like, wow, that's crazy. That's a crazy story,
my gosh, now that you put that into perspective, man, it was,
right?
yeah, it's crazy, But yeah, I also just want to take a moment too to just also give you your flowers as well. I've known JR again since freshman year of UC Irvine, and I want to say it was our 4th year was when we got really, really close. Like we were inseparable, and I'm just really grateful to see how far you've come. I'm so proud of you continuing to pursue your own passions and for you to continue to make your dreams a reality. And so I'm really proud that, we made it this far as friends. And, I look forward to where it goes from here.
Nice. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. All right, so let's keep continuing this train. In the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life? Again, maybe we touched upon this already.
I would say, fitness related, I would say probably discipline coming from adhering to a diet. So, just to give context, that 2018, when I was kind of saying that was like my come up year, that was the year I also committed to losing weight. So I remember so clearly, it was like July 4th of that year. I wasn't happy with sitting at 190 pounds. And I was that type of person where I'd go to the gym, I'd hit the weights super hard, but felt like I never saw improvement. And I have a very good friend, shout out Kevin Liang. He was willing to kind of just coach me through macronutrient dieting. And it was hard. It was really hard just counting every single gram of protein, carbohydrates, fats. But honestly, it's that discipline that carries over, right? And then pretty soon after 7 months, I lost 40 pounds. I was 150 pounds on the dot. And that's when the diet changed. But also that was when my confidence was like through the roof. I felt like, if I could do this, I could do anything, right? And so taking that habit of just that simple diet and applying it to everything that I did after, I think was so essential in creating who I am today.
I like that. It's funny because like I was also on the same sort of like fitness journey of like trying to lose weight and get to a place where I can be happy with myself. In 2018, I had my first like fitness coach too, and I think to the audience, never underestimate the power of really honing in and taking control of like your physical health, right? Like your fitness and seeing how far you can push your body, and if you can get to that ideal configuration of like your body type and stuff like that, that will skyrocket your confidence a lot and then translate to other things like you said.
Yeah. Like I remember could not believe that. I think I was pretty much like 10% body fat or below. Like I don't want to say like 6. That's like
I was ripped, dude. I'll link a photo here. His abs dancing on stage with no shirt and a comp set. I'm like, this motherfucker. No. Oh no, where'd my shirt go?
I can't believe I did that. No, but yeah, it's just I'm so grateful for that 7-month journey. And also, shout out Melinda. Like she like stuck by me through that entire diet. Whenever she wanted to go out to eat dessert, I'd be like, no, I can't, but it was worth it.
Love it. Who would you call successful, and how do you define success?
Success to me is doing what you love, right? It's always going to manifest differently in people, however they gauge success being in terms of value. But for me, as long as you're doing what you love and you're content with it, I think that's the ultimate end goal, right? To being content with doing what you love, your passions, and finding so much fulfillment and joy out of it, that is success. And that's gonna be different in everybody, right? So yeah, just be happy with what you're doing, your passions, and you're successful.
Nice. Anyone come to mind that you want to shout out that you're like, props to you. I think you're successful.
Oh man, honestly, there's so many people that come to my mind right now.
Top 3? I don't know.
Oh,
I'm sure the list is longer, guys. So don't be offended if you didn't.
Oh my gosh.
Be offended.
Well, well, like I'm kind of also thinking about like with this question, like I want to say people that are coming after me,
Mm,
right? Because like, obviously my mentors, I would say I deem them as
of
successful and stuff
course.
like that, but I first want to say I believe that my fiance Melinda is successful, keeping true to who she is. I know the trials and tribulations that she's gone through in order to manifest her dreams. And I'm so proud to just be able to share those experiences with her. And actually, the next person that I just comes to mind is my mentee. I want to say shout out Brian Lay. I don't know if you know who Brian Lay is, but I continue to see him pursue his passions and achieve his milestones, and I just want to continue to pour into that. It being in a role as a mentor, right? And then finally, the last person that comes to my mind, actually, the last two groups of people. My old DB from Kaba Modern, Michael Kasai. I saw him since he was a Kaba kid, and now he's in PT school. And like to see him still stay connected with me, again, it just really shows like the impact of our relationship, and what it could do by having just one person believing in you, right? And then, I just want to say, like, my godsons, Cyrus and
Mm,
Eli, like, whenever I see them, man, I just get so reminded of what it feels like to be a kid. And, that is successful, right? Like, their purity and their view on the world, like, just intaking it with a smile. I think it's a reminder for us to, not take life too seriously at times and to really just take in whatever it has in store for us. So,
nice. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you try or what would you be doing now?
man, like there's a lot of things I would try. But I think the first thing that comes to my mind is running a full marathon. Okay,
Mm,
I've told this to many people. My fiance is actually an avid competitive runner. She's done multiple marathons, and I would always tell her that I don't think I would do one right now
yeah.
because like the most I've done is a half, right? And I don't mind doing a half, but the moment I cross the finish line, my body breaks down,
Ah,
and I think to myself, I would have to do this again for it to be a full.
mm,
But if I, if my body wasn't breaking down, I wasn't failing then I would totally do it right now, and maybe eventually I will, But I think if I were to do it right now and not feel that essence of failure, I would totally do it.
nice, nice. Um, how many marathons has she done?
Man, let me see. She's done, this would be her third LA marathon coming up.
Yeah.
She's done a bunch of half marathons. And then actually next weekend of this recording, she's running her first ultra,
Oh, damn.
which is 32 miles
Dang.
in the mountains. So
That's
I
crazy.
I I don't know if
Yeah.
I would ever have the balls to do that,
Yeah.
but kudos to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I feel like endurance sports is a completely different beast, and if I
Of course.
didn't have that body breakdown, I think I
Yeah.
would totally do it.
That's crazy. So running like endurance sports has always it's been like interesting to me.
Yeah.
So I've never quite explored it yet, but like I'd be super down to interview Melinda if she would be down, but we can talk about that afterwards because it's like I would be curious to see what that process is like of like preparing for marathon,
Yeah.
going through it. Because some of the books, biographies, autobiographies I read about like endurance athletes
Mhm.
is insane. So I just want
Yeah.
to see someone's perspective on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool. If you, sorry, what is one of the most or best worthwhile investments you've ever made in either time, money, energy, etc.?
Honestly, I think I touched upon it already. It's just fitness.
Mm,
Honestly, actually, no, not just fitness. I want to actually say just investing into my health,
mm,
right? It's really true what they say, health is wealth.
of
And
course.
us getting older, like our bodies are starting to feel it, our minds are starting to feel it, and continuing to reinvest ourselves into ourselves every single day by keeping ourselves healthy and whatever that may be, like um health and fitness is different to every person, and so as long as you're staying active and investing into your health, I think that's like one of the best things you can do for yourself.
I love it. Favorite recent purchase in about 50 to $100 that has impacted your life the most in the last 6 months? You can change the parameters, but a recent purchase, relatively cheap.
A recent purchase, oh man. Oh, that's real. $50 to 100.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know, honestly, because I don't really think about like buying stuff.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, but if I were to think about something that's really just benefited me, what comes to mind is I want to say my lifting belt.
Oh, see, there you go. Yeah, I was thinking something like
You
that.
know,
Yeah.
because like, I don't know. It's like whenever I put that on, like I feel like I put this persona on
Mm,
to like hit this weight, But it's also a reminder of like all of the times I failed too, because I failed so many lifts as well. And it's just a reminder that I'm human, that I'm still growing, and that every time I put it on, it's just working towards a better self.
mm, I like it. Last rapid fire questions. Favorite books, movies, videos, articles, or media that you share or recommend the most?
Man, okay, so I already said Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
All right, I'm a huge anime fan, so you have to watch Gurren Lagann. That will teach you a lot about yourself. You have to watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood,
Good one.
classic, and it will just also teach you a lot about life as well. Um, in terms of books, I still have a list, but I still want to get more into it once I finish my doctorate. That's actually my next endeavor. I want to read more,
Mm.
and then movie wise, man, I don't know because I watch a lot of horror movies, so I'm not sure if I would recommend any of those,
Yeah.
But um, honestly, I would just recommend to just following different podcasts and different influencers that you may look up to. Like for me, when I was on that weight loss journey, I was watching a lot of fitness YouTubers, and like that really helped kind of reset my mindset as to like what I'm capable of. And so, um, yeah, yeah,
Nice. I like it. What you put into your brain is just as important as what you put into like your mouth, right?
yeah, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that is it for rapid fire questions. Now these are the ending questions. So first question is gratitude. Shout out to my mom for teaching me this. But Andy, what are you grateful for?
Well, first and foremost, I'm just grateful to be doing what I love. I think, um, we mentioned it throughout this entire podcast about my life as a growing up in a single parent household. I always think to myself, my life could have gone very differently. I could have gone down a way darker path, but I'm very fortunate to be able to be here and to be able to do what I love. And secondly, just grateful for all the family and friends that have supported my journey. And again, I've mentioned this before, it takes a village. And I think a lot of times when people become successful, they forget about the people that help them get there, And for me, like I never want to be that type of person, I always want to give honor and grace to the people that have paved the path for me. And I will do the same for those that are coming after me. So
Nice, I love it. Any final ask from the audience or any final takeaways you would like them to have from our conversation?
yeah, believe in the you who believes in yourself. Honestly, that really, really, really resonates with me. Um, Belief is such a powerful force, and even if you can't believe in yourself right now, um, believe in the person or the people that believe in you, because um, that support system will get you through anything, and eventually you will reach your highest potential. And um, however that looks for anybody, I'm excited for them to just engage into their own journey of self discovery through believing in themselves. So
Fantastic. All right, Andy. So we'll wrap up, but where can people find you if they want to check out what you're up to and connect with you if possible?
yeah, you can follow me on Instagram at Andy Hoster, just Andy Ho and Ser. And actually, I have a movement log Instagram. Call it
Ooh.
my Liftstagram now, just because I mostly post my like powerlifting training there. But before, when I used to take more dance classes and such, I would post different classes and pieces I've choreographed and such. But it's at grind underscore grind, so it's underscore G.R.I.N.D.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Love it. Love it. Cool. All right. Well, Andy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing all of that insight and wisdom. I know I personally learned a lot and I'm inspired by your journey, and I'm sure our audience will be too. So thank you for being here. And final sign off for the audience. Thank you guys for tuning in as always. As just a friendly reminder to always be kind to other people, especially yourself. and reminder that you can always learn something from someone if you just take the time to listen. So thank you for tuning in.
Oh yeah, thank you, JR, for having me. Had a blast, and uh, believe in the you who believes in yourself.
Yes.
Let's
Let's
go.
go. Let's go.
Let's go.